Warning: this podcast may contain graphic violence, sexual themes, and bad language. If our language offends you, we apologize, but we do not give a fuck. Be mindful of your kids listening.
The Evil Never Dies podcast.
What's up, everybody?
You change your words.
Yeah. A little bit.
You
Thanks
messed
for
me up.
listening to the Evil Never Dies podcast.
You messed me up.
Did I fuck you up already?
Yeah.
I'm Brett here with my contributor,
Carl
co-host
Todd.
Carl.
I think tonight I'm going to be more contributing than normal.
Yeah, you are.
This is one of my bands for a change.
Yes, it is.
We don't do my bands very often. But
So,
of course, I've got the shirt on tonight. It's Iced Earth, and I have to give a disclaimer before we begin. We don't usually get political on the show, but unfortunately tonight we're going to have to mention a few things that may piss some people off. And I don't have an opinion. I don't really care. I'm just going to give facts.
likewise.
You can't really mention Iced Earth without mentioning John Schaefer's current situation.
Yeah.
So we'll come to that when it gets there. But I just wanted to do disclaimer before we started so people know, oh my God, you just mentioned the blah, blah, blah. Dude did it to himself.
Yeah.
It's out there. I do think I was one of the first people to see his picture when it was plastered on Facebook. Do you know this man? I'm like, yeah, I know that man. And I had people saying, you don't know that that's him. I'm like, yeah, that's him. And unfortunately it was.
Oh.
But
All right. So we're going to be talking, like Carl said, about the band Iced Earth. You want to go a little bit over the background of them?
yeah,
Carl?
we're gonna do an album review, but Iced Earth is one of these bands that a lot of people aren't real familiar with. They've
Yep.
never been very main. They got a little mainstream. I guess that was around 2001 because they actually had brought in Tim Ripper Owens, who had just left Judas Priest.
Actually, it's 2002.
Okay, I knew it was soon after. The
After
9/11.
after the album that we're talking about.
Yeah. It was after 9/11.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Iced Earth is primarily John Schaefer, who is the main songwriter, main lyricist. Basically, Iced Earth is John Schaefer. There's been probably 20 people on each instrument, and they've had at least 6 lead vocalists. So they were formed in 1984, were called Purgatory. And back then they were in Tampa, Florida. I don't know how and when, but I've always known them as an Indiana band. Excuse me, I can't talk. Actually, I guess Schaefer lives in Columbus, Indiana still, if he's not in jail at the current moment.
I think that's sort of by the Creepy Guys and Jimbo and all them.
It could be. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, in 89, they released an EP and got signed to Century Media Records, which was their longtime label. They put out 2 albums, Iced Earth and Night of the Storm Rider, both which had 2 different singers. And the Iced Earth album, the singer is just one of those scream guys, just like scream at the top of your lungs. It was terrible. Night of the Storm Rider, the singer was this kind of...
Was that
had
the
this
guy
real-
from Canada?
I have no idea who he was.
Okay.
I was not a fan of Iced Earth at that point. I listened to it and I'm like, yeah, this sucks. His name was John Greeley. I have no fucking clue who he is, where he went to, or if he's even alive. That's how little of a role he played in the band. But finally, by 1995, they got Matthew Barlow is their lead singer and recorded Burnt Offerings. That was a great album. And John Schaefer finally found his click with Barlow, and they became a team. Seemed like it was an unbreakable team. After all the years of instability, he finally found his vocalist and his buddy. That Barlow and Schaefer were definitely friends, so much the fact that some years later, Schaefer would actually marry Matthew Barlow's sister, so they became brother-in-laws.
Okay.
So they put out Burnt Offerings. 96 came the Dark Saga, which was about the Spawn comics. Something Wicked This Way Comes, which was sort of a concept album in 98. And in 2001 came The Horror Story, which is what we're going to discuss tonight. But a little bit before that, just how they went. After The Horror Story, they started working on an album called The Glorious Burden, which is a lot about war, and it had some Civil War stuff on it. Well, this was after 9/11, and Matthew Barlow decided that he didn't want to be in heavy metal anymore. Now, this guy had real long, I'm talking like down to his ass, red hair, just long hair. So he decided he was done, and he quit and actually joined a police department.
Oh, Barlow. Yeah, I was reading.
Barlow left and become a cop. So at the time, Ripper Owens was a free agent, and you got two Midwest guys. So Schaefer hired Ripper Owens, and then Schaefer did all these interviews saying, "Well, Ripper's the voice I've always heard in my head since I started this band. He's perfect for the band." So they put out The Glorious Burden, and what did you say that was 2002?
2004.
2004. I think it took them a few years to make it, and it was actually their most successful record.
That's the first one I ever heard by him, I think.
It was when they actually became semi-mainstream for that one. Then they did a 2007 Framing Armageddon and did a tour with Ripper, which I was there and actually got to meet him.
Oh, cool.
Then things got weird, and Ripper Owens got fired from the band, and they brought back Barlow, who was currently working for a law enforcement agency. So everybody's like, how are they going to tour? Well, they found a way, and they played at the Ridgely Theater and put out an album, The Crucible of Man, I think it was called, something like that.
Crucible of Man.
Okay, and this was actually a part 2 of the concept album they did. So you have 2 concept albums with 2 different singers. So I saw him on tour, got to meet Barlow. Great show, hung out with the guys. It was a fun time. But he was a police officer, so that become sort of an issue because they couldn't tour. So they got a singer, Stu Block, from a band Into Eternity, which was a death metal band. Now, Stu actually sounded like Ripper and Barlow merged into one. The guy was absolutely phenomenal.
He could hit the high notes.
He could hit the high notes. He could hit the bass note, the deep notes.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of positive response. They put out, I think, 3 albums with this lineup, and then that's when the shit hit the fan. So what am I talking about John Schaefer? Well, now John's always been sort of a controversial guy in heavy metal. You know, he obviously he fired people. They would make albums, and the guitar player and the bass player would be fired by the time the album was out, and they'd have to recruit new people for tours. So John was very political. He actually had a side project he called Sons of Liberty, which was a very, I guess you'd call it
politically driven
views on things. He also ran a Civil War shop, had a bunch of Civil War merchandise in it. And he was very political. People knew, and most people just sort of like, that's just how he is. But he joined this group called the Oath Keepers. And I don't know anything much about the Oath Keepers, honestly. You may know more than me.
I don't know nothing about it, man.
I don't either.
Other than what I've read about him being in it, he's one of the
He was a founding lifetime member of the Oath Keepers.
Yeah.
It's some sort of militia group, and I'm not going to say I'm not going to research them because I don't really care. But
either.
around November of 2020, John Schaefer was in Washington at a rally and let his views be known, and it was all over the internet, and people were starting to get a little pissed off, like, okay, this is getting a little out of hand. Well, John Schaefer was at the January 6, 2001 Capitol
2021.
2021. Yeah, this whole subject kind of makes me angry
Or
because
was it 2020? It was 2020, wasn't it? Yeah.
it was 2020. It was January 6, 2021 that the incident happened. It was when the Electoral College was being voted on or approved. And
Confirmed.
as everybody knows, there was an incident at the Capitol. Some call it a riot, some call it an insurrection. I don't know what it was. I just know a lot of bad things happened at the Capitol. And John Schaefer was there. And he was all over the place. He was in the pictures. I actually saw him on Facebook. People like, do you know these people? And I'm like, that's John Schaefer from Iced Earth. And I actually commented, and I had people dogging me saying, dude, you shouldn't say that. You don't know that's him. And I'm like, I've met the guy twice. That's John Schaefer. It's him. So he was a part of that incident. And I'm going to say he's guilty. Why do I say that? Because he actually pled guilty. He pled guilty to 2 charges: obstructing an official proceeding of the Congress and trespassing on restricted grounds while armed with a dangerous weapon. Now, he was the first person to plea in this entire incident, but he did so cooperating with the prosecutors and giving evidence over. That makes him sort of a snitch, I guess, to his buddies and the watch keepers or oath keepers or whatever the fuck they are. So he went to jail, actually, for a while. They let him out on a bond, and he didn't have a good time in jail from what I read. They finally got him out, and he's cooperating with the prosecutors, and apparently they have recommended he may get 3 to 5 years in prison for cooperating, which I guess is better than,
Weren't
going
they
to life
originally
in
going to
federal
charge him with like
penitentiary.
treason and all that kind of shit?
He had like 20 charges on him, so he pled to 2. So a lot of these oath keepers are now being arrested, and I'm guessing John Schaefer is part of the reason. And he's actually been granted sponsorship in the Witness Protection Program. So what does that mean of Iced Earth? I don't know that there is an Iced Earth anymore. Now, as soon as all this happened, the entire band quit. Stu Block, the singer, and they made statements like, look, we had nothing to do with this. We don't condone it. This is not us. Don't blame us. So apparently the drummer is the only one who didn't quit. So Iced Earth right now is John Schaefer, who may be going to prison for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and a drummer. So that is I could not mention Iced Earth without bringing that up. I'm sorry, folks, but I just report the news. I don't make it. A lot of the metal community has turned on John Schaefer. I've seen people burning Iced Earth shirts. Some of my friends were selling CDs. Some of them were giving away merchandise that was signed because they didn't want associated with John Schaefer. But here's my take on it. I've been a fan of this band for a long time. And just because he committed a crime, and he pled guilty, so he did commit a crime, that doesn't mean I'm going to turn on Iced Earth's catalog or the music they did. Vince Neil killed a man.
Lots of rock stars have done
and crippled them and
shit.
crippled people, turn them into a vegetable. But I still listen to Motley Crue. There's plenty of bands that have committed crimes and done bad deeds. Yeah. So I do not condone what John Schaefer did. I don't condone anything unlawful. I don't like these protests that turn into riots or people burning down people's shit. If you're gonna do your protest, stand on the fucking stairs and hold a sign. So I don't condemn any riot or any, I'm a person of law and order. So I do not condone what John Schaefer did. I think he's a fucking dumbass because he basically ruined his career.
Exactly. Yep.
But I'm not going to turn my back on a band I like just because some dickhead did something. Now, there ain't probably going to be another Iced Earth album. I just don't see it happening. But we can
Probably not.
remember what they once were. And Matthew Barlow is still active. He's still a law enforcement officer, but he has a band called what's it? I can't even think of it now. The
I don't know. You told me earlier.
Ashes of Aries.
Ashes of Aries. Yeah.
There was another band he was involved with, is why I got confused. And funny enough, he actually had Ripper Owens sing on one of the albums with him. So he had both the Iced Earth singers there together.
Huh.
So if you made it through all that, and some of you probably didn't, we're going to talk about a 2001 album of Iced Earth's, and it's called The Horror Show. And we actually mentioned this last week because we did The Omen. And this album is a concept album featuring classic monsters and horror movies.
Among other things, yes.
Among other things. And there is a song from The Omen.
About The Omen.
Well, yeah. Well, it's inspired by The Omen. Let's put it that way. It's called Damien. So I'm going to turn this over to Bubba Brett here, and you can do your thing.
All right.
Mr. Album Review guy.
Let me get a drink first here. Wet my whistle.
Yeah, after all that about John Schaefer, I think I need a drink too.
Yeah. All right. Horror Show by Iced Earth, 6th studio album by the band. It was released June 26, 2001. Recorded, I guess, April and May of 2001. Did you hear anything about him having their own studio?
They did. Jim Morris is their producer, and I think he lives in Tampa, and that's where they did all their albums. It was Jim Morris, their producer.
Okay.
He's done like every album they've ever, at least since Matthew Barlow joined the band. He's sort of a death metal guy, but he's actually done work with Sabotage and Iced Earth.
All them Florida bands.
Yeah,
Obituary, I think.
And Obituary, but he's also worked with like Morbid Angel.
Right? And Morbid Angel.
Death.
Yeah.
Napalm Death. There's actually a Death and a Napalm Death. And he also worked with Camelot on one of their albums. So he's done stuff other than death metal.
Yeah. Okay, genre is power metal, thrash metal, which I don't think this album is really thrash metal.
They sort of step away from the thrash metal on this one. That I think their earlier work was nothing but thrash. When Matthew Barlow joined, they started to become more of a power metal band, and that's what I consider them to this day. Well, up until their absence.
Yeah, it's more melodic metal, I think, to me.
It's my music.
Mm-hmm.
As everybody I've talked about, the power metal, the symphony metal is more of the stuff I've listened to over the past 20 years. Because I remember buying this album the day it came out in 2001. I was really excited. I actually got the double CD of it, which is a rarity.
Yeah. All right.
Second disc.
Length is 61 minutes and 36 seconds.
It's a long album.
Yes, it is. Label is Century Media. Like you said,
that was their longtime label that they worked with for many years and went back to, which they are no longer on a label, but we know why.
Like you said, producer Jim Morris and also John Schaefer contributed in that also.
Yeah, they sort of worked together on those albums, I believe.
All right.
They were a well-oiled machine at around that time.
Yeah, they're tight, really tight band.
Especially once they got Barlow on board. I mean, it was really Barlow and Schaefer. They had revolving drummers. On this album, it's actually Richard Christie, which we'll talk about as we go through the album. He has a story of his own.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll go over the track listing then. Unless you know anything about the production of the album.
There's not a lot on it. I mean,
No, there's not.
they didn't really, they just sort of went into the studio and did their album and went on tour. They really weren't a lot of bullshit to them. They did a lot of writing on the road, and they were pretty much ready to make an album as soon as they got off the road. And yeah, well, let's do the track list, and I'll give a little bit of details of the songs as we go, because I know a lot of the stories behind them. And
All right, let's go. Track 1, Wolf, inspired by the Wolfman films. Length is 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
it is basically the Universal Wolfman. And the book, I don't know. I didn't bring the CD out. I should have, but I'm not going to go searching for it right now.
Damn
Really
you.
good artwork.
You're so unprepared.
No, I'm unprepared. It's actually my Iced Earth CDs are on the other side over there. And
Okay.
I was too busy playing around with my lights to go get it. Anyway, you can't see the pictures on the webcam if you're watching on YouTube. But yeah, it's basically artwork from the Universal Wolfman. This
Okay.
is sort of a pretty heavy song. This might be the closest to thrash on the album. It
Yep.
starts out really heavy, and Barlow's got a lot of the thrash screams in it. So probably the heavier song on the album.
Alrighty, track 2, Damien, inspired by the Omen films, coming in at 9 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yes, it's
Which
an
is
epic song.
Longest song on the album.
Yeah, they take a lot of the lyrics come from the movie directly. And
Yeah, they do. And play a
yeah.
little. They do a little bit of the Ave Satane in it too.
They do that.
All right.
Very epic song. I like that song a lot.
Track 3, Jack, inspired by Jack the Ripper. And that one was written by the song was the lyrics by Matt Barlow.
Yes, man. This is when Barlow started writing some of the lyrics. Schaefer finally trusted him enough by this point to start writing, I guess.
And that comes in at 4 minutes and 14 seconds.
That's one of the weaker songs, I think, on the album. I'm not a big fan of that one. It's just sort of, the lyrics are good, but the music is sort of lame.
Track 4, Ghosts of Freedom, inspired by Matt Barlow's concept, cited by the interview on disc 2.
So this was basically Barlow had wrote a song about it was a Revolutionary War soldier who dies fighting, the British, and sort of overlooks a generation of his family as they go to war, and he watches over them as they fight. And it's sort of what it says. It's a ghost, of a soldier watching over his generation of family. It's sort of a cool concept. It don't really fit the horror show, but it sort of just kind of was a throw in there. And it's a lighter song. It's almost sort of ballady in a way.
Yep, exactly. It's probably
Barlow's really got some deep vocals in this one.
Yep. And that comes in at 5 minutes and 12 seconds. Track 5, I'm Hotep.
Not Bubba?
Not Bubba. And this is based on the I guess the second part of the song is called Pharaoh's Curse. Inspired by the Mummy.
Yep. And again, the picture is Universal Mummy, the Karloff in it. Really good artwork on this album, or CD, or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah, this only came out on CD, didn't it?
Probably. I don't know that they ever put their crap out on vinyl. Not to my knowledge.
And that comes in at 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Track 6, Jekyll and Hyde, inspired by the movie The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
And Matthew Barlow, I think, wrote the lyrics on this one as well.
Yep.
And this one was sort of more science fiction-y than horror, is how Schaefer viewed it, but he thought it fit the album well. So he was really proud of this song. I talk at him like he's dead. I mean, I guess if he's going in the witness protection
Mm.
program, he pretty much is dead. It's a sad story, but he was really happy with this song. I repeated myself, have a drink.
Okay. Track 7. Oh, did I say what that came in at? 4 minutes and 39 seconds.
Yes.
Track 7, Dragon's Child, inspired by the creature from the Black Lagoon.
And it was also written by Matthew Barlow. And
Yep.
Schaefer and Barlow said they weren't big fans of the movie. So they sort of took their own creation and kind of made their own story as to what the creature of the Black Lagoon was. And
Yeah, like a
it was like a
backstory
dragon
of it.
man.
Yep.
Again, you know, some really good concept art in the album of the CD.
And that came in at 4 minutes and 19 seconds. Track 8, Transylvania. And that is an Iron Maiden cover. And also it is an instrumental. If you are an Iron Maiden fan, you know this song well.
And it fits the album great since it's called Transylvania.
Yep.
You said you thought they did good job on it too.
Yes, yeah, I think they did do a good job. Little harder than Iron Maiden did it, but yeah, they it was pretty tight the way they did it for sure.
Ice Earth's a pretty heavy band, man.
All right, that comes in at 4 minutes and 23 seconds. Track 9, Frankenstein.
Inspired by
The movie Frankenstein. Frankenstein.
Weird song. It's a short song and it's just sort of doesn't feel like it felt like it was almost a filler. I would say it, besides that one Jack song, I think this is the worst song on the album. It just don't have a lot of feel to it.
Yeah, you can't even really tell that it's about Frankenstein, really.
No.
And that comes in at 3 minutes and 50 seconds. That is the shortest song on the album.
Ooh, number 10 is the good stuff.
Track 10, Dracula.
Dracula. Say it right.
Inspired by Universal Dracula.
Well, actually, it's more inspired by Bram Stoker's Dracula, the movie.
Okay.
There's actually lines from the Gary Oldman Dracula, and I guess we'll call it Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. Maybe that's a better way of.
Okay. I guess
absolutely phenomenal song. One of the best songs Ice Earth has ever done. And I listen to it all the time. It's still on my playlist. Very, 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 very dark song. It starts out real slow with Barlow's
almost sort of like a doom metal at the beginning of it, sort of maybe.
And Barlow's so deep in it. And then out of nowhere, his vocals just go, you know, into a total scream, and then it just blows up. I'm telling you, Matthew Barlow would be on my top 5 best singers in heavy metal, period, of all time. I love the guy's voice. And this song really shows his skills. There's not many people can go that deep and then get that high.
All right. That comes in at 5 minutes and 54 seconds.
Excellent song.
Track 11, The Phantom Opera Ghost, inspired by The Phantom of the Opera. You know, I don't think I've seen that movie all the way through.
The original?
The original, yeah.
With Lon Chaney Sr.?
With Lon Chaney Sr. I don't think
I don't know that I've seen it, because it's a silent film, is it not?
Yes. Yep. That's probably why I haven't made it through the whole thing, is because I got sick of fucking reading.
The one that I'm more familiar with is the Hammer version of Phantom of the Opera. It's more takeable than others.
But yeah, Lon Chaney's character in that was a scary fucking character, dude.
It was scary as shit.
Yeah, that's one of the scariest. I guess I don't know if I'd consider him a monster, really, or
he was sort of monstery, yeah.
But yeah.
And
Remember
you know,
seeing-
again, I think every week I slam on Universal whenever we mention Universal Pictures. So take a drink. I'm repeating. Why in the
aye, aye,
F
sir.
did Universal not ever remake that Phantom of the Opera with that same makeup and that same style
Yeah,
into a
now, yeah, that would
Yeah.
be cool. That
or
would be
now
cool,
or even
man.
done it in the 40s whenever or the 50 or the whenever the fuck, you know. They did a Phantom of the Opera, but it was terrible.
Yeah, didn't they
It was
do
more
it
of a
like,
love story,
wasn't
which
that in the early 90s or something? Late
I
80s?
don't remember now. There's been so many versions of it, but the Hammer version is probably the better one. I actually used to have a poster of that up on the wall, but it got replaced by Night Creatures. But yeah, that's another epic song, and they actually have I can't remember, I don't know how to even pronounce her name, that does the co-lead vocals as Christine on that song. So they try to get
yeah.
pretty epic with it. Actually, John Schaefer said they ran out of time, that he had like 4 more minutes of music, but it wouldn't fit on the CD, so they had to cut 4 minutes off the song, and he thought maybe one day they might actually restore it to its full length. They never did.
All right. That's the track list. You must have had the initial pressing
I did. I bought it the day it came out.
because I guess it's very rare.
And the interview's not all that great with John Schaefer. It basically says stuff that you can all figure out already. I mean, I don't think on the initial pressing that Transylvania was on the CD. I think it got re-released with it later.
Also,
Because it was only on the disc 2 when it first came out.
it also says that Transylvania has moved out of the track list and Dragon's Child has its full ending, increasing its length.
I have no idea about that one.
Hmm.
It says I have no idea about
Well,
Dragon's
that's on
Child.
that's on the single disc.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That
Makes sense.
all right.
So we need to go over the band personnel.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
All righty. Got Matt Barlow on vocals.
My hero.
Your hero.
I love Matt Barlow.
John Schaefer, rhythm, lead, and acoustic guitar, mandolin, keyboards, and backing vocals.
And he does a little bit of lead vocals, I think, on the Dragon's Child.
Okay.
Schaefer could actually sing pretty well. Sometimes I wondered why he just didn't take over the vocals himself for the band. So he'd get another singer every 10 years.
Larry Tamowski, lead guitar solos in all song except Ghost of Freedom, which I guess is John Schaefer.
Schaefer didn't like playing lead for some reason. He always brought in somebody to play the solos. I don't know why.
Then we got Richard Christie on drums.
I can tell some stories on Richard Christie, and we will soon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was in the band Death.
Yes, he was.
Then we got Steve DiGiorgio on bass guitar for studio only. He didn't tour. He was just on the album in the studio.
He was just a studio guy. I don't think he was ever in the band.
He's like a hired gun.
Yeah.
He's done stuff with Megadeth, Testament, Sebastian Bach, Obituary. He's been all over the place.
Yeah, so they were currently bass playerless at the time. Well, hello, Halloween. Our good friend Halloween is with us, Brett.
Oh, is she coming up on your lap?
Come on, Halloween. Come see everybody. Everybody knows you on the show. There's
All right.
Halloween.
Hi, kitty.
All right, additional personnel. I'm gonna fuck
I can't
this
say
up.
that girl's
I'm
name
gonna
if that's
fuck
who
it
it
up. I'm
is.
gonna fuck it up like it ain't been fucked up before.
Oh, I'm sure you fuck it up. Yeah.
Yunhui Persifield.
Yeah.
Lead
She's
vocal.
some local Indiana girl, apparently. I thought she might have been from England, from Europe with that name.
Well, she does the lead vocal on the Phantom Opera Ghost and as Christine and backing vocals. And then we got Richie Wilkinson on backing vocals, Rafaela Farias on backing vocals, Sam King on backing vocals, Jim Norris backing vocals, keys, guitar solo on Ghost of Freedom.
Yeah, it wasn't Schaefer. It was Jim Morse.
Okay. I was wrong. Howard Helm keys, pipe organ on Phantom Opera Ghost.
Yep. There was an organ on that song. It was pretty badass, really.
And it only charted in Poland 59 out of 100 in Poland for 2001.
Halloween's knocking my microphone over.
Damn cat.
So let's talk about Richard Christie.
All
You
right.
mentioned that he was in the band Death.
Yep.
And he was in Iced Earth. He played on at least 2 albums, but he actually quit Iced Earth. And guess where he went? Can you ever figure this one out without looking?
The Howard Stern Show.
Did you know that already? Or did you research it?
I just pulled it up, dude.
You asshole bastard. So anyway, if I used to be, I'm not anymore, a big Howard Stern fan. And there was a guy named Jackie the Joke Man Martling on there for many years. Well, Jackie didn't get paid what he wanted, so he quit the show. So they did a contest called Take Jackie's Money or something like that.
Take Jackie's money.
So Richard Christie, who had been in Death and Iced Earth, I guess was a pretty funny guy. Halloween's messing my mic up. So he'd been sending in snippets to the Stern Show for many years, and he actually sent a tape for the Take Jackie's Money job. And they were pretty impressed. So they actually called him into the studio for a day, and he got a test run on there. So at the end of it, it was him and another guy named Sal, the stockbroker, and they actually voted Richard Christie to join the Howard Stern Show. So he left Iced Earth and became a full-time member staffer of the Stern Show. And his buddy Sal, the stockbroker, who actually was one, they decided to hire him as well. So those two become a team, and they've been on the Stern Show ever since.
Oh, he's still on there?
Still on there. To my
Really?
knowledge, I don't listen to Howard
I
anymore.
don't. I haven't listened to him.
I have it. Howard's turned into everything that the old Howard that would make fun of this new Howard daily.
Yeah.
But Richard Christie's a funny sort of guy. He's from Kansas, and he talks real hillbilly. And his dad lives on a farm. So, he's not who would you normally think of being in a death metal or a
Hard
heavy metal band.
Yeah. Huh.
But he is a phenomenal drummer. And Stern used to have him actually come in and play the drums sometimes just because they were odd about how good he was. And Howard's like, why are you here? Why ain't you like making money with some band? He's like, well, Howard, I never made much money in the heavy metal business. But Richard's a funny guy.
Huh.
And I actually, now this had nothing to do with Iced Earth, but as you know, me and Video Bob could get involved in some annex. So somewhere along the line, he got the call that the Howard Stern crew was coming to town doing a show at I think the Lakewood Theater in Dallas. And they wanted to be entertained afterwards. They wanted to go to the clubhouse, which was owned by Vinnie Paul. So Bob's like, say, man, you come with me and you can drive some of them. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So I actually wore an Iced Earth shirt. And Bob's like, he said, ain't nobody gonna know who Iced Earth is except Richard Christie. And you two are gonna be like best friends from that point on. So the funny thing is, after the show, we hung out and we told him, okay, we're going to take you to the clubhouse. Richard Christie jumped in the car with Bob, and I got Sal the stockbroker and Reverend Bob Levy and Beetlejuice.
Oh, you had Beetlejuice in the car with you?
Beetlejuice in the car with me.
Oh, that's fucking awesome, dude.
And yeah, so Sal and Bob Levy were like, so tell us all about Pantera. We heard you knew him, and I'm like, well, I I've known them since they were in the clubs, and I hung out with them some, and I was giving them a bunch of, Pantera stories, and I'm like, I said, I figured Richard Christie would like be running around. They said, oh, Richard's weird. He was in those bands, but he really ain't into that shit that much. It sounds like I'm more into like Pantera than he is. So
Sal the stockbroker.
yeah, Sal
Huh.
Governale is his real name. So we got to the clubhouse and they had their fun. And I finally actually talked to Richard Christie, and he was real shy and real reserved and didn't really want to talk a lot. And I got a picture with him, and he was just kind of a shy guy, I mean, and we did not become best friends, and he didn't become my celebrity buddy or nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually got to hang out with Richard Christie while he was on the Stern Show. He was not in Iced Earth the 2 times I got to meet him. He'd already left by then. But he didn't really want to. I think we took him back to the hotel, and I talked to him a little bit more. And, he mentioned, we talked about death a little bit. And he told me that he was going to start his own metal band, sort of as a side project. And it was called the Charred Walls of the Damned or Death or something like that. I don't remember.
That's
But
sort of a
he's
cool
put out a
name.
CD, and it was actually pretty decent. And I'm gonna have to look this one up to make sure I'm not lying to the public
See
here.
if it's on iTunes and send it to me. I'm too lazy to look.
I will look, but I'm trying to say I was right. He actually got Ripper Owens to sing on that album.
Really?
Yes, he did.
Well, that's probably pretty good. I love Ripper, man. He's a good
It's a
singer.
very heavy album. It's more thrashy. So yeah, I'll send that link to you. So
Yeah, for sure.
side project from Iced Earth, and Ripper Owens, former singer of Iced Earth and former drummer Richard Christie, was called Charred Walls of the Damned. They actually
that
put
out.
out 2 CDs.
Huh.
Actually, they
What
had
year?
a 3rd CD. They put 3 CDs out. I didn't know they did a 3rd one.
Really?
So yeah, so it does have Ripper on it. So it's sort of kind of like a version of Iced Earth, I guess. Kind of like the Ashes of Aries, which I feel like an idiot for forgetting the name because I've got all their CDs and shirts. I'm actually friends with Matthew Barlow, actual friends on Facebook, and like I said, I really respect that guy a lot. He gave up the metal business to become a law enforcement officer, and
Hit him up and get him on the show, man.
I was thinking I might try to do that and try to promote the last Ashes of Aries album because it's good music. And they got a rough time trying to put that stuff out with him working full time. They don't get to tour very much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he did a Facebook Live video, and he's like, "Hey man,
So is he
just
a
want to
cop
tell
of-
everybody we're selling merch." And he said, "I'm trying to get rid of some of this, so send me a message, or or go to the Ashes of Aries webpage and order some merchandise." And it actually came directly from Barlow. He actually in his
Really?
handwriting and everything. So
Well, when I'm listening to this album, I hear in his voice, I hear a lot of George Call in it. I hear a lot of George's voice in it. Some of
well,
his,
they have a similar voice because George can sing pretty deep and hit
Yep.
the high notes as well.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So I could see that.
Some stuff I was listening to today, I was like, well, that sort of sounds like George, So shout out to George.
Shout out to George Call. Yes, indeed. Aska, Banshee, and now former Clovenhoof.
Yeah.
When we had him on the show, he was kind of didn't say a lot about Clovenhoof, and I guess there was a little bit of issues at the time. We were trying to promote that album, and I hadn't listened to it a lot at the time.
Yeah, it just come out.
it just came out, and
Still need to have him sign that though. That might be worth some money someday.
it could. It could indeed. I've actually got a poster that Clovenhoof that Danny White and Lee and George signed for me at one of the Clovenhoof shows they played in Dallas.
Well, I got that Mind Slave picture disc that he signed for me
From
too.
Banshee, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good album too.
I told George this, and I'll be honest. I actually enjoy his work with Banshee more than I did with Clovenhoof. I like the first album he did with Clovenhoof a lot, but the other two I wasn't big a fan of. I think he did. I like him in Banshee better. I prefer Aska over everything because that's his band.
Yeah.
And he was an Omen for a while, but I think Banshee and him are a really good fit, and I think they're going to stay together and put out some good albums. I don't see that ever stopping. They've got a good connection going there.
Supposed to be a new
Unfortunately,
Aska album coming out, isn't it?
it will be out sometime this year. I don't know an exact date. There's some logistics they're working out with the record label.
Yeah, they deal with them European labels, don't they?
Yeah, and they're currently their guitar player turned into a ghost. I don't mean he's dead. I mean he just literally disappeared.
Yeah, that was happened that night. We went and seen him. He was supposed to play and didn't show up. And I ain't seen him since, huh?
No, he like defriended Danny and Keith and George off of Facebook and like blocked them. So actually me and him are still friends on Facebook, and yeah, he's still cool with me. Actually, I'm friends with every member that's been in Aska. Jason Sweat, their former drummer, Chris Minta, who played guitar for a while with him, Daryl Norton, who was guitar player after the original guitarist Darren Knapp left. So I've kept track of every member of Aska, and of course, the great Damon Call, the original drummer. He's my buddy.
Yeah, they were. George was posting some pictures of them when they were over at a bunch of different places overseas.
Yeah,
that's cool, man. They were. They looked badass back then. Well,
they were some badasses. They still are. They're just
old like us. We're all getting old, but I guess you're only as old as you feel, huh? And if you're still rocking, then
George Call's voice has gotten stronger with age. That's all there is to it. So George's voice is definitely top notch, as is Matthew Barlow's. So, we won't focus on the negative with Schaefer and his unfortunate incident that he, attended and may have cost himself his career and probably his band. We'll focus on the good. Richard Christie got a band out. Stu Block, who, was their singer for 3 albums. I'm actually friends with him on Facebook, and he's actually trying to get him another band together, and he's actually selling some Iced Earth merchandise that was his that he just don't want. He said he's not ever going to be in that band anymore. And he said there's going to be fans who would love to have this stuff. So he's actually selling them off at a pretty good price. So let's celebrate the guys that were in Iced Earth: Stu Block, Matthew Barlow, Tim Ripper Owens, Richard Christie. They're good musicians, man. Support them. Support local metal bands like Aska.
Wherever you are, support it.
Yeah, we do our local Dallas Fort Worth thing, but I've said it before. If you want to take a gander at our local Dallas Fort Worth bands, you can go to KNON.com and check out Reckless Rock Radio. The show's on Sundays at 10 o'clock, and it's also archived, or whatever you want to call it. You can listen to it
on the website.
And that's hosted by my buddy Greg Spicoli. So you want to check out our music locally, then they play it every Sunday. So support your local bands, your local metal, wherever you're at. If you don't have a local metal scene, just listen to ours, because we got one here in Dallas Fort Worth that we're very fucking proud of.
Well, the thing is, there's all over. There's local stuff that's good. Like Cleveland's got a really good metal scene. Cleveland, Ohio. Just all over, man. I don't care where you live.
Well, find your local bands and support them. And if you don't got one, just come here, hang out with us.
Hang out with us.
Not that we ever go
Yeah.
anywhere. We're gonna go somewhere one of these days.
Yeah, we're going to. Who we going to see, Carl?
Death Angel
I know.
and Creator.
And what's
That's
that?
all.
What's that new band that
I
you-
can't think of their name, but they're
What?
really cool.
Yeah, let me pull it up here.
And I'm gonna
Oh.
go see Striper. I
Yeah,
love Striper.
I can't find it here. But anyway, they're from Vegas, and they're like a death metal Western band.
Yeah,
That's
They're
the name of
actually
their
kinda
new
cool.
album. That's the name of their album. I can't think of the band name. Oh, oh,
come on. You're gonna have to give them a shout out now, man.
I know. I gotta find it here. I got it somewhere here. Spirit World,
Spirit World is it? Yes.
and that's the name of their new album. Is Death Western, and it's actually pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I kind of look forward to seeing those guys.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, them, Death Angel, which they put on an awesome show live,
Mhm.
which I just did the midweek on last week, and Creator, German band.
One of my favorite thrash bands of all time.
They've been around forever, man.
I've
Since,
loved them forever.
and then they're doing a co-headlining show with Sepultura. So
Which we'll be leaving for. The Max and Igor's not there. I don't want to see it. That's like this whole Pantera charade.
oh,
Did you hear that?
Yeah, they're getting all their
They're getting cancel cultured
Yep,
because
they
of Phil
are.
Anselmo.
Yep, because he's been high riking.
Yeah. So I feel more
They lost all their European festival shows, like
They
3
sure
or
the
4
fuck
of them so
did.
far. Yeah, so
I feel somewhat vindicated. I was talking shit. Now they're getting countercultured or whatever it's called.
Ansel.
Cancel cultured. I can't even talk.
Oh shit.
Well, this has turned into a long episode. We're supposed to do one album review, which would have lasted about maybe 20 minutes.
We've been rambling. I know.
I think it's a good ramble.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit of an Iced Earth, Ashes of Aries. Mentioned Aska, mentioned Reckless Rock Radio on KNON.
Now I got to take
going-
like 6 drinks because you've repeated yourself like 6 times.
Well, look, everybody take a drink because Halloween's here too.
Oh.
Everybody's been following the adventures of Halloween since we found her in a Halloween pile in the garage.
Yep. All right, man. You
I
got
guess
anything
that'll
else?
wrap it up. No, but one more promotion. When's it in May? Texas Frightmare Weekend. Me
Yes.
and Bubba will be there, and we're going to be in tow with the Reverend Verde. He confirmed tonight he wants to go with us.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, we'll be there on Sunday.
yeah. So Greg will be with us. So if anybody wants to come to Texas and go to a good horror convention, look it up. You go out there on a Sunday with us.
Yep.
May's not that far off in the long scheme of things.
4 months.
If you want to come hang out with us, that's a good time.
4 months from this weekend, actually, I think.
I'll be going to get my picture tucked with the great Sam Raimi.
Because it's the same week as we're going to see that concert.
Oh, fuck, I may take off a few days. My microphone moved again, Halloween. I think that's all we got. This is rambling on now, but I think this is a good episode. I feel good about it.
All right, everybody.
I don't know what you're going to call this.
I'll figure something out, man.
Hey, Halloween's sucking me.
Oh no. All right.
He does that kneading and starts to suck.
All right, it's time to go. He's getting sucked
No,
off by a
dumbass.
cat.
She's kneading. She kneads and sucks on the shirt. So now my shirt's wet.
All right, everybody, check us out on the YouTube,
I think
all
you're
the
drunk,
social
Brett.
medias.
Are you drunk?
No, no,
You
I'm
think
not.
the cat? I said she's sucking and kneading. You get all tripped out.
Just the way you said it, man. Check out some merch if you want. We got some new
It's on
two
sale
size-
right now.
Yeah, it's on sale right now till Sunday, I think. So, which will be when you're listening to this. So
It's
they
probably
always-
off the sale by now.
they always have specials on there though. I usually post them on my page and
Yeah, I
on
need to
our
make some
group
orders.
page, so yeah, we need to order up some because actually we're gonna be at Texas Hunters Convention in July, so we need some shirts to take with us to get
We
rid of.
definitely do.
So buy us a cup of coffee. I put all this stuff in the show notes, so check it out.
Oh
Say-
yeah. Cincinnati Bengals beat the Chiefs.
mm,
Beat the goddamn Chiefs. What are you mooing about?
I'm not mooing nothing. Booing,
Fuck the
mooing.
Chiefs. Fuck Kansas City. Fuck Patrick Mahomes or Philip Mahomes, whatever the hell that idiot's name is. Go Bengals. I don't care about the NFC. I just didn't see the 49ers win, but it's okay if the Eagles win. Go Bengals. See, I got my own Bengal right here. Look at her.
Who day? Yeah, you got a
We're
big right
done.
there. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening and
Stay evil.
stay evil, everybody.
Warning: this podcast may contain graphic violence, sexual themes, and bad language. If our language offends you, we apologize, but we do not give a fuck. Be mindful of your kids listening.
The Evil Never Dies podcast.